How did the homeschool year go for my 4th grader and 7th grader? Rachel, she was in 3rd grade, not 4th grade. Quit growing her up. I'm going to let you know the good, the bad, and the unfinished. I'm going to update you about how it went with curriculum, how it went with my ideas for the year, and how we adjusted to the unexpected. Hey guys, my name is Rachel and I am homeschool mom. This is coming up on my 9th year. I have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So I am going to put chapters below. So if you are just looking for feedback on a particular curriculum, you can look below, but I'm going to talk about math, language arts, specifically Brave Writer. I'm going to talk about my co-op idea, my family co-op idea that I was going to do with my kids, Brave Writer lifestyle that I talked about earlier in the year, the read alouds, science, history, and our Bible time, how it all went.
I don't know if this is going to be a long video, so I'm going to try to talk fast so that it's not an hour long.
And if at any point in this video you have a more specific question about the curriculum that you want me to answer, leave a comment below. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you know that I try to answer pretty much every single comment, especially if you're asking me a question. I am definitely going to respond. But even if you just tell me, hey, I like your hair, I like your earrings, I almost always respond with more than just a little heart. I like to make sure you guys feel heard. So leave a comment below and I will do my best. I'm also kind of running low on my camera battery, so talking fast, hopefully get through it. Okay, so math, the good and the beautiful math. So if you saw my video on why we were leaving teaching textbooks, it's like my most popular video.
That video caused a lot of drama.
But anyway, in that video, I talked about how I was going to give the good and the beautiful math a try, and I printed it out.
And I printed it out wrong, and some of the images didn't print, but that's another story.
Halfway through the year, maybe more than, we gave that a try for about at least halfway through the year. I can't remember when I decided that it wasn't working. It's kind of like a similar reason to teaching textbooks. What did not work for her is sitting in front of the computer to learn. And the good and the beautiful, I really wanted it to work because I wanted her to be able to learn from somebody else independently and then do her work. And my plan was to have her sit next to my husband while she watched the video and then do her work. And this was one of those wrenches that was thrown at me this year. It was just very difficult for me to get her to focus. She really did not like the videos at all. All of my kids are kind of like this with the video schooling. It's such a two-edged sword. It's like the video schooling is helpful for some students to have another teacher. It's helpful for mom to be able to work with somebody else while this student's learning from the video. But for my kids in particular, they will point out if they feel like the video is wasting their time.
Kind of like a school situation, right?
They got it. It's time to move on. They don't want to finish the video, or they're kind of like, all right, just, let's wrap it up here. So she did not enjoy the videos, and she was still struggling with retention. So I'm going to talk about in a future video what we were trying. I kind of don't want to talk about it just yet. But the good and the beautiful math, we are not doing that this year. Singapore math was still working great for my 4th grader. I love Singapore math. I will say she advanced so quickly that when she got to long division, she was so used to just kind of whipping out her math lessons and her practice and getting them done quickly that when she got to long division, she started to get frustrated that she didn't understand it right away and that it was taking longer. So she wanted to slow down. It's okay to slow down, you guys. You first of all, she's ahead of her grade level. But don't worry about grade level. That's comparing your child to another child of a similar grade. But it really doesn't have anything to do with your child. You just want your child to keep progressing. My child is progressing. It's okay if we slow down and take longer on this concept. I still love Singapore math though. Brave Writer and the Good and the Beautiful Language Arts. The Good and the Beautiful Language Arts 2 has worked great for us. In fact, it was a little bit too easy for my student. I used the older version, so I don't know what else to say. It's a great program. I have no qualms with it, no problems. She loved all of the activities in it. The editing practice workbook that I was using for her, basically it was just like a sentence day with grammatical errors like missing periods, missing commas, words that needed to be capitalized, just basic editing practice. I did stop that with her because even though the book I was using said grade level 2, there were concepts that she hadn't learned yet. So I probably will pick it up again at some point in the future, depending on what we do for next year. The reading journal that she did from Not Consumed was a hit. We did not do it every single day, so we probably only used half of the journal. We're definitely going to be doing that again next year. But the thing I loved about it was very colorful and it had a lot of variety in it. So whether your child was reading nonfiction or fiction, there was a little blurb in there that you could pick out for them or let them choose what activity they wanted to do, but to just kind of reinforce what it was that they read that day. So I highly, highly recommend the Not Consumed reading journals. I am an affiliate with Not Consumed, and so I will link their information below. I would so appreciate it, you guys, if you used my links, because it lets them know that I'm the one that referred you and helps my family be patient with me as I give time to this YouTube channel, since there's a little bit of return there. Okay, Brave Writer. We only did 2 projects of the 10. I added in my own third project, but the third project, which was kind of the science journal, it was very difficult because our library is undergoing construction this year, and I wish I would have known that, but at the beginning, because I was really counting on going to the library to get books on science, to check out these books and make it a fun day, particularly for the Brave Writer projects. And because my library was under construction, they packed up all of the educational books. I kid you not. And the only thing that they had out were like all the fiction stuff. So apparently the homeschool type books are not as popular as the other stuff. So it wasn't a very homeschool friendly library this year, and we didn't go very often. That's not the only reason why I stopped doing Brave Writer, but that was definitely one of the things that frustrated me. I really wanted to do these cool projects, but the research was difficult. I didn't want my daughter to only do research on the internet. So we only did the 2 projects, and I'm really, really glad that I bought her The Good and the Beautiful Level 5, because I fell back on that pretty quickly, and that became our only curriculum. So I did go ahead and utilize the writing assignments in The Good and the Beautiful 5. That's not to say that I don't like Brave Writer. Brave Writer is just very different. The Brave Writer writing program, anyway, it doesn't really teach grammar, so mom would have to teach that part. It really teaches more about learning to love writing, and if there's a budding writer inside, unlocking that joy of learning to express yourself. That's really what it's all about. And so that's what I loved about Brave Writer and all the creative ideas that it had. It did become a little bit difficult for me because it wasn't as open and go as The Good and the Beautiful, for example. It was more difficult for me to just say, okay, go do your Brave Writer today, because my daughter needed help planning through what it was she was going to do. So I really did need to sit with her and constantly check up with what it was she was doing. And it just became, to me, it was just one of those things that okay, this isn't the best year to try this. I get it how Brave Writer works now, and maybe I can sprinkle it in here and there over the next couple years, but it doesn't have to be our only writing curriculum for the year. So that's the great thing about being an experienced homeschool mom. That's different than maybe some of you newer homeschool moms. You may not be able to do this because you just want a curriculum that tells you what to do. The Good and the Beautiful is a great curriculum for that. I don't mind picking and choosing from various curriculums to kind of create my own agenda for the year. and I can do that with experience. So that's probably what I'm going to do going forward. I have ideas for next year for our writing program, so stay tuned for that. But I will probably sprinkle in a Brave Writer idea here and there. The arrow guides. We did read The Vanderbeekers of 141st Street. I really did like that book. Definitely Christmas themed. It takes place the week before Christmas, and a lot of the kids, you just fall in love with the kids of that book very quickly. It's very well written, so I do highly recommend that book. I did not get around to utilizing the arrow guide for that book, which is a big bummer for me. It was just, again, it was one of those things where I felt like I'm enjoying reading the book, but figuring out how to incorporate the arrow guide into our day just felt like too much. There was too many things thrown at me this year. I mentioned them in the mid-year update, besides the tornado happening outside our house, but also my teenage daughter. Just challenges with our homeschool with her made me feel like I have to shift my expectations and reality. And I felt a little bit like I was in survival mode this year. I had to majorly simplify my year for my own sanity. And when I say simplify, I mean like practically bare bones. Sometimes you just have years where you have to do the bare bones to survive, and that was my year. So a lot of my great ideas, they're just going on the back burner. Maybe I'll put them into next year's plan as a, you know what, if the year's going better, we'll try it. I didn't get to the learning through literature guides either, for the very same reason. I mean, if I can get to the Brave Writer arrow guide, I'm not going to try the learning through literature. One of the projects I did add, though, so this wasn't in my plan, it was one of the things, okay, I'm putting this on the side, so let's try this. My daughter read the book Number the Stars. Love that book. But instead of her just telling me what she did, and I wanted her to get a little bit of writing experience in there, I had her create a PowerPoint presentation explaining the book. I told her to grab pictures from the internet, and I actually did sit with her a whole day to help her grab pictures. But you know, that's part of learning process, moms. Sometimes we sit with our child and we model for them what to do. So I said, you know, there's one part of the book, it talks about Nazis in Denmark. So we Googled Nazi occupation of Denmark, and there were some pictures that came up of like the Denmark flags with Nazi soldiers in the streets. Like, these were real historical pictures. So we found all kinds of pictures on the internet to add to her PowerPoint presentation about the book. The book is historical fiction, but it's based on real life facts that happened during the during World War II in Denmark. We also added part to her presentation, kind of like what really did happen during that time. So we made the PowerPoint, and I invited her grandparents over, and she did her book report to them. And my parents loved the presentation, and they even said there was a lot of things that she shared that they didn't know. So that was a really cool extra project. Another thing that I did to add some fun into our grammar, since I had to fall back on the good and the beautiful, when we were studying adjectives, we did a little magazine activity. I had them pick a picture out of the magazine. So say they picked a picture of a teddy bear, a picture of flowers, then they had to go through the magazines and cut out adjectives that described that picture. Mama did it with them, because at first when I told them, here's what we're going to do, they were like,
what? This is a weird idea.
So I sat down with them, and we were all cutting out of magazines adjectives, and one of my daughters,
If you've been watching my channel for a while, you might be able to guess which one.
thought it would be hilarious to pick adjectives that were just way off. I don't remember, except for she was making hers funny, which made it fun. But they were learning adjectives. They were learning the difference between an adjective and a noun. So it was a fun activity, and they can have fun with it. I also added in daily journaling prompts. So I have a book that has daily journaling prompts by the month, and I think I showed it in my student organization video. So if you want to check out how I help them organize all their papers, science journals, and things like that, I think it's in that video. But it's basically a calendar of the month, kind of like a bingo card, and it has little journaling topics for each day, and I just let them pick whatever they wanted to write about that day, but they needed to write a paragraph just to get them writing, get them thinking, expressing themselves. And then we also did a lap book at the end of the year, an All About Me lap book. We're still working on it, so it's not quite assembled yet, but it was just a little fun activity to get some paper cutting, just to relax. Sometimes you need days like that. In fact, it gave me an idea for how I'm going to plan my year next year. Two more fun projects that I added in for them for language arts. My teenager was very excited. She really wants to go on vacation to the Outer Banks in North Carolina. Give me ideas if you've been there before. But we let her do some research and put together a presentation, again, for us to say, here's your vacation budget, do some research, tell us what we're going to do, where we're going to stay. And so she really enjoyed that. And then my youngest daughter was watching a show where the kids got an assignment from their school to go around town and take pictures in their town and to write about their town. And she came up one day and was like,
how come you never give us assignments like that? I want to take pictures of our town.
So I was like, let's go. So we got in the car and we went to our town and we took all kinds of pictures, and she wrote about it, created a presentation, and she's giving it to her grandparents this week. So see, even though I didn't do Brave Writer and I fell back on the Good and the Beautiful, I am the kind of mom that is going to add in fun whenever it pops into my head. That's just kind of where I want my homeschool to evolve to, and that's what happened. If you appreciate this stuff, YouTube gauges whether or not my video is worth spreading if you comment below or if you give me a thumbs up. That is how it measures whether or not, hey, this is a good video we should share with others. So I would so appreciate it if you would either just give me a thumbs up or comment below so that my channel can spread to more people so that I can help more homeschool moms.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
So that's my little P.S.A. there.
All right, our co-op idea. So this was my idea that every other week we were going to do like a family style learning together so that we could involve my high schooler. That was difficult this year also because I didn't realize when I had the idea how often he would be working and be asked to work on both Thursdays and Fridays. So I really felt like he's working, that's a vocational credit for high school. I felt like I can't take him away from his regular schoolwork. So what we did as a compromise is we started almost every single school day playing board games together. And especially on Fridays, we did it even longer. My son loves board games. It was perfect for us. And then of course, we always have our morning time together. I mean, so he pretty much didn't start his day until 10 o'clock, sometimes 10:30 or 11 even. So we start the whole morning together. We tried to start school between 8:30 and 9. That's a good chunk of the day. So that was our compromise, and maybe we'll do some family style learning next year. We'll see. I'm not giving up on the idea. I got 2 years left with my high schooler. Speaking of which, if you're interested in how my high schooler's year went, that is an upcoming video, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Okay, so for the Brave Writer lifestyle things, we didn't do one single poetry tea time. I don't know if we'll ever get to it. It's one of those things, if I had younger kids, I would be all over this poetry tea time. It's a lot harder to get your teenagers excited about poetry if they're not already. And again, this is something that would be best suited for a family co-op day. It didn't happen this year, we'll see. We also did 0 field trips. We are doing a lot of field trips this summer though. I'm going to my state homeschool convention, which is going to have all kinds of art classes and STEM related classes for them, including activities. And then we're doing a lot of hiking this summer. So I do feel like if you don't get it done in the school year, just plan it over the summer. I mean, the same thing I'm going to tell you about science. I didn't get a lot of science done this year, but we're going to be doing sciencey things all summer. So it's kind of my modified year-round homeschooling. We did watch some historical movies. We watched Cinderella Man. It took place during the Great Depression. It's a real story of Jimmy Braddock, the boxer, one of my favorite all-time inspirational movies. You have to see it if you've never seen it. You will learn a lot about the Great Depression, and true stories are always cool. I already mentioned we played a lot of games. We did holiday celebrations like our Christmas. We did Valentine's celebration, our Passion Week. We always celebrate during birthdays. So I do feel like we did some of the brave writer type lifestyle, and then I told you about how I added in fun activities. I mean, that's what the lifestyle is all about, is just making learning fun. So that's how that went. So read alouds. Besides the Vanderbeekers of 141st Street, we also read the George Mueller biography. Such a good book. In fact, I might do a video coming up, not about that book, but I might reference more specifics about the book in this video idea I have. But I had tears in my eyes from this, and about how much he relied on God to provide for him financially, and the amazing miracles that God did. I mean, amazing miracles. YWAM Publishing, highly recommend the George Mueller biography. We also read A Dangerous Journey, which is like Pilgrim's Progress. I'd never read Pilgrim's Progress before, you guys, and this book was so good. I had the very large hardback, very well illustrated. It's an allegory about the salvation of every Christian and their journey from a sinner to salvation, their Christian journey and the pitfalls that happen until heaven. And there's all these characters that come in throughout their life, characters who start to walk with them until the journey gets too hard, characters that try to get them off the path, characters that are dishonest and try to get them off the path, and then characters that come in and try to come another way, right? Like in the Bible, he's a thief and a robber if he doesn't enter through the door. So all of these spiritual lessons in this book, highly, highly, highly recommend this book too. And then we're listening to Corrie ten Boom's biography right now. So did not get a lot of read aloud done. I don't know if I'm a slow reader. I felt like I read a couple hours a week, but I must be a slow reader or something. But we also were reading that early church history book in our morning time. So I did a lot of reading that was Bible related. I'll talk more about that. For science, I mentioned we did not get a lot of science done. We did the bird unit, enjoyed learning about birds. We will continue learning about birds throughout the summer. I just filled up my bird feeder this morning, and we are attracting all kinds of birds. This is when it's fun anyway. When we go out hiking, we'll notice some birds. So I do intend on doing science throughout the summer in that way. I found with science, my older child's attitude affects my younger child. My younger child is very eager and would practically learn whatever I put in front of her, and my older child really doesn't want to do school at all. That's the phase I'm in. So you guys, if you have a child who, guess what, all homeschoolers don't love doing school, don't feel alone. I'm going through this right now. I feel like, though, we got a lot of science we did a lot with Answers in Genesis this year, because our teen group at church is studying how creation or how evolution couldn't have just happened, and evidences of the flood. So my teenagers in particular have those sorts of assignments frequently. I mentioned our tornado experience. We learned a lot of science during that. We learned some things about cooking this year, which is science, like when food caught on fire in the microwave.
Real life science, right?
And then, even though we didn't do the third Brave Writer project, which was about a natural disaster, my daughter did start to do some research on that. She did research for a couple weeks. I just decided that we were gonna put a halt on that project. But she did research about meteorites and asteroids and things like that. So she got science in that way also. And then we talked about nutrition a lot this year as a family. Nutrition is science too. So science is everywhere. You just have to look for it. And when we have really difficult years like this, you're going to have to give yourself grace and remind yourself homeschooling is not about the checklist. It is about home and fostering those relationships with your children in the season that you're in. So for history, the George Mueller biography was history. I mentioned Cinderella Man that we watched, which was about the Great Depression. The Corrie ten Boom Audio book. See how this is all kind of starting to cross paths now. The early church history book that we're reading in our morning time. Also the CC timeline cards that I mentioned in our morning time. So check out this morning time video for more ideas about that. The Faithopedia had history in it. And then the personal journals from Not Consumed that my kids worked on almost daily, they also had some little small biographies in them. So we got a lot of history from a lot of different places, not necessarily from a formal history curriculum. And then for our Bible, once again, I have way too much that I want to do and not enough time to do. I mean, I could spend 2 or 3 hours a day on training my children in the Bible, in apologetics, and in all those things. I mean, that's probably the amount of material that I end up getting every year, and then I just go with what I feel like. But because of that, I have so much left over that did not get finished. So, Rachel.
No buying new Bible curriculum this year.
Show some self-control. That's going to be my goal for this summer, because I have plenty to keep going on. Our morning time routine was just working so well for us. There were points where I wanted to switch gears and like do Who Was God on Friday, or for our family co-op, I wanted to switch gears and do a Not Consumed study. But what ended up happening is our morning routine was just working well. I didn't shift gears. I just stayed the course on what we were learning. We did shift gears at Christmas time, and we did do that Not Consumed Christmas countdown about Jesus's genealogy, which was very, very good. So again, Not Consumed, link below. That was probably the only time that we really shift gears was at Christmas time. So to see how we do our morning time, check out this video right here, and I will give you more details about that. And then how my high schoolers year went is coming soon, and I will put it right here when it's out. Let me know if you have questions. Until next time, bye.